The galaxy had never been this happy. Across millions of worlds, from the glittering capitals of ancient empires to the smallest colonies hidden between dying stars, celebrations had begun. Music filled the orbital cities. Fireworks exploded above alien homeworlds. Millions of beings gathered in enormous plazas, raising glasses, tentacles, claws, and mechanical limbs toward the stars. The reason? Humanity was finally gone. For 300 years, humans had been the galaxy's greatest problem. They had refused to obey. They had refused to surrender. And worst of all, they had refused to accept that they were supposed to be inferior. The Galactic Concord had declared humans dangerous nearly a century ago. At first, humanity had been given warnings. Then sanctions. Then blockades. Then war. But every time the galaxy expected Earth to fall, humanity somehow survived. Until the final war. The Galactic Coalition had united 12,000 species against one world. The largest fleet ever assembled had entered the solar system. 2 million warships. Artificial moons converted into weapons. Planet-killing cannons. Entire armadas built for one purpose: to erase humanity from history. The battle lasted 11 years. And then, silence. The last human transmission was received from Earth on October 17, 2491. The message contained only 7 words. We will never surrender our home. After that, every human communication channel went silent. One by one, Earth's colonies disappeared. The outer settlements. The mining worlds. The distant research stations. Gone. The Galactic Coalition searched every corner of human space. They found nothing. No survivors. No military bases. No hidden colonies. Nothing. Finally, the Galactic Council made its announcement. Humanity was extinct. The celebrations began immediately. On the planet Varian, billions gathered beneath a golden sky. The Grand Chancellor stood before the Galactic Assembly and smiled. Today, he announced, the greatest threat to galactic peace has finally been eliminated. The crowd erupted. Cheers echoed across the chamber. Humanity is dead. Earth is silent. The war is over. Across the galaxy, the same message was broadcast. Humanity had fallen. Humanity had lost. Humanity was history. But 300 light-years away from the galactic core, something was moving. Deep inside a region of space known as the Black Expanse, sensors belonging to the Coalition detected an anomaly. At first, it appeared to be a gravitational disturbance. Then another. Then 10 more. The monitoring station's automated systems began reporting impossible readings. The officer on duty frowned. Computer, identify the objects. The computer remained silent. Identify them. A warning appeared. Unknown vessels detected. The officer stood. How many? The computer processed the data. 1 second passed. Then 5. Then 10. Finally, the answer appeared. 10,000. The officer stared at the screen. 10,000 what? The computer responded. Warships. The officer's blood ran cold. Whose? For several seconds, there was no answer. Then the computer displayed something that had not been seen anywhere in the galaxy for more than a century. A symbol. A simple blue planet surrounded by a circle of stars. The officer whispered the name. No. Another officer rushed into the room. What is it? The first officer couldn't move. Run the identification again. We already did. Again. The computer repeated its scan. The answer remained unchanged. Origin, Sol System. The room went silent. Then the computer delivered the final message. Fleet identification, human. The officer stepped backward. But that's impossible. Outside the station's windows, the darkness of space suddenly began to glow. One ship emerged from hyperspace. Then another. Then hundreds. Thousands. The stars disappeared behind an endless wall of steel. 10,000 human warships had returned. And they weren't coming to negotiate. They were coming home. The Galactic Coalition had faced countless enemies. Pirates. Rebellions. Ancient machines. even civilizations that had existed before recorded history. But nothing had prepared them for what appeared on their sensors that day. 10,000 human warships. The first images reached the galactic assembly within minutes. The entire chamber went silent. On the massive holographic display, the human fleet floated against the darkness of space. There were battleships, dreadnoughts, carriers, cruisers, destroyers, and ships so enormous that some coalition officers initially believed the sensor readings were mistakes. But they weren't. Every ship was real. Every ship was armed. And every single one carried the same symbol. The Galactic Chancellor stared at the display. How? No one answered. The coalition had destroyed Earth's military. They had destroyed the human colonies. They had searched the solar system for survivors. They had watched the last human ship disappear. So where had this fleet come from? The coalition's intelligence director finally spoke. These ships weren't built recently. The Chancellor turned toward him. What do you mean? The intelligence director expanded the data. Look at the construction signatures. The hologram changed. The warships were suddenly covered in thousands of readings. Energy systems, armor technology, weapons, engines. The director's voice became quieter. These ships have been hidden for decades. The chamber erupted. Impossible. Where were they hiding? Who built them? How did we not detect them? The intelligence director stared at the screen. That's the problem. He pointed toward the fleet. We didn't miss them. The Chancellor frowned. Explain. They were never in our galaxy. Silence. The intelligence director continued. These ships came from outside known coalition territory. The Chancellor stared at him. Outside the galaxy? No. The pause. Beyond it. The chamber went completely silent. For the first time in history, the Galactic Assembly had no idea what to say. Then another transmission arrived. This one was different. It wasn't an attack. It wasn't a threat. It was a message. The coalition decoded it. A human voice filled the assembly. Emotionless. To the governments of the Galactic Coalition. Every alien in the chamber listened. You declared humanity extinct. Images appeared behind the voice. The human colonies. Destroyed cities. Burning planets. Millions of graves. You celebrated our deaths. The voice continued. You believed that because you could not see us, we were gone. The hologram changed. The screen showed thousands of human children. Then families. Then soldiers. Then entire generations. We allowed you to believe it. The Chancellor's face changed. What? The human voice continued. For 100 years, you searched for humanity. The stars behind the fleet began to move. We wanted you to find nothing. The fleet advanced. Because while you were hunting our ghosts, a massive human battleship emerged from hyperspace. We were building our future. The assembly watched in horror as the ship's weapons activated. The human transmission ended with one final sentence. You thought humanity died. The pause. Humanity was preparing. The communication disappeared. For the first time in decades, panic spread throughout the galaxy. The coalition ordered every military fleet to mobilize. Millions of warships were redirected toward the Black Expanse. But the coalition made one critical mistake. They assumed the humans were still the same species they had defeated a century earlier. They weren't. Humanity had spent 100 years beyond the edge of known space. They had discovered technologies the galaxy had never imagined. They had learned to travel between dimensions. They had built engines that could cross thousands of light years in seconds. And they had developed weapons capable of destroying entire fleets without firing a single shot. But the most terrifying thing wasn't their technology. It was their numbers. The coalition believed it had destroyed humanity. In reality, it had given humanity a century to prepare. As the first coalition armada entered the Black Expanse, the human fleet disappeared. 10,000 warships vanished simultaneously. The coalition commanders celebrated. They believed the humans had fled. Then every sensor in the galaxy detected the same impossible signal. Not from the Black Expanse. Not from the edge of known space, but from directly above the galactic capital. Humanity had arrived. And this time, the galaxy had nowhere left to hide. The first human warship appeared above the galactic capital at 9:17 Galactic Standard Time. No warning, no declaration, no hyperspace signature. One moment, the sky above the planet was clear. Then a ship larger than a mountain appeared above the city. Every alarm on the planet activated simultaneously. Millions of civilians looked toward the sky. They saw a black and silver battleship surrounded by blue energy. Then another ship appeared. Then 10. Then 100. Then thousands. Within 60 seconds, the entire sky had disappeared behind human warships. The galactic capital had become surrounded. The coalition's defense network immediately activated. Orbital cannons rotated toward the human fleet. Thousands of interceptor ships launched. The coalition believed it still had the advantage. After all, the galactic coalition controlled millions of warships. Humanity had only 10,000. But then the human fleet moved. Not forward. Not backward. Together. Every human warship activated its engines simultaneously. The entire fleet disappeared. The coalition commanders stared at their screens. Where did they go? The answer arrived 3 seconds later. Every coalition fleet in the galaxy reported the same thing. Unknown human vessels detected. The human ships had appeared everywhere. Above military bases. Outside shipyards. Near weapons factories. Around strategic colonies. The 10,000 warships had divided themselves across the galaxy. And every location they appeared it was important. The coalition finally understood. This wasn't an invasion. It was a demonstration. The humans weren't trying to destroy the galaxy. They were showing the galaxy that they could. The Galactic Chancellor immediately ordered a surrender demand. Transmit this message to the human fleet. The communication was sent. A few seconds later, a response arrived. The Chancellor expected a threat. Instead, he heard a human voice. You still don't understand. The Chancellor froze. The voice continued. We didn't return to conquer you. The holographic display showed a single human battleship. We returned because you destroyed our home. The Chancellor's expression hardened. Earth was a military threat. The human commander replied instantly. Earth was a world. Silence. You destroyed our cities. Another pause. You destroyed our families. The Chancellor looked away. You hunted our survivors. The voice became colder. And then you celebrated. The hologram changed. The image of Earth appeared. But this wasn't the destroyed Earth the coalition remembered. This Earth was alive. Blue oceans. Green continents. Massive cities glowing beneath the clouds. The Chancellor stared. Impossible. The human commander spoke. 100 years ago, you destroyed the Earth you knew. The image zoomed outward. The planet was surrounded by enormous defensive structures. Orbital shipyards. Military stations. Hundreds of hidden bases. And while you were celebrating, thousands of human ships appeared around the planet. We built a new one. The Chancellor finally understood. Earth had never been abandoned. Humanity had rebuilt. And they had done something else. They had prepared for the day the galaxy came looking for them again. Then the human commander delivered the message that would change galactic history. You have 24 hours. The Chancellor stared at the screen. 24 hours for what? To answer one question. The communication paused. Then came the words. Do you want peace? The Chancellor almost laughed. The galaxy had 10,000 human warships surrounding its most important worlds. And the humans were asking for peace? He immediately ordered the destruction of the fleet. Millions of coalition weapons activated. The galaxy's most powerful military forces opened fire. For several seconds, space itself appeared to burn. Then the smoke disappeared. The human fleet was still there. Not one ship had been damaged. The coalition commanders stared in disbelief. Then the human ships responded. They didn't fire weapons. Instead, every human warship activated its shields. A massive energy pulse spread across the galaxy. Every coalition weapon shut down. Every military engine stopped. Every warship became powerless. The entire coalition military had been defeated without a single shot being fired. The human commander spoke one final time. That was your first warning. Then the human fleet disappeared. The galaxy was left in complete silence. For the first time in its history, the Galactic Coalition understood the truth. Humanity wasn't asking for peace because it was weak. Humanity was offering peace because it was strong enough to destroy everything. And somewhere beyond the galactic capital, 10,000 human warships waited. The 24-hour countdown had begun. 23 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds remaining. The countdown continued. 18 hours, 42 minutes, 11 seconds. Across the galaxy, panic had replaced celebration. The same civilization that had once celebrated humanity's extinction was now hiding inside underground cities, military bunkers, and orbital shelters. Every major government was asking the same question. What happens when the countdown reaches zero? The Galactic Coalition gathered its leaders in an emergency meeting. The Chancellor stood before the assembly. "We will not surrender." The room remained silent. One alien leader finally spoke. "Why?" The Chancellor turned. "Because surrendering to humanity will make us look weak." Another leader stood. "We already look weak." The Chancellor's expression changed. "You dare?" "Yes," the leader interrupted. "Because you are ignoring reality." He pointed toward the massive holographic display. 10,000 human warships surrounded the galaxy. "We attacked Earth with 2 million ships." The display changed. "Humanity survived. We destroyed their colonies." Another image appeared. "Humanity survived. We declared them extinct." The leader looked directly at the Chancellor. "And they returned with an army we cannot defeat." No one spoke. Then a new transmission arrived. The source was unknown. The room went dark. A human hologram appeared. But this time, it wasn't a military commander. It was an old woman. She stood in front of a simple window overlooking Earth. Her hair was gray. Her face was calm. "My name is Admiral Elena Carter." The Chancellor immediately recognized the name. The legendary commander who had disappeared during the final battle of Earth. The Admiral looked directly at the galaxy. "You've spent the last century wondering where humanity went." Behind her, the window opened. The view revealed an enormous city. Millions of lights covered the planet. "You destroyed our old world." She paused. "So we built another." The hologram changed. Human cities appeared. Then colonies. Then enormous shipyards. Thousands of ships were being constructed. "But we didn't build them to attack you." The Chancellor frowned. "Then why?" Admiral Carter looked directly into the camera. "Because we learned something." The images changed. The destroyed Earth. The dead colonies. The graves. Peace without strength is just a temporary pause before the next war. The Admiral's voice became stronger. "So we became strong." The coalition leaders watched in silence. "Your governments feared humanity because we refused to kneel." She paused. "But you never understood why." The Admiral looked toward Earth. "Humans don't want to rule the galaxy." Another pause. "We want to live in it." The transmission ended. For several minutes, nobody spoke. Then the Galactic Chancellor made his decision. "Prepare the fleet." Every remaining coalition warship received the order. They would attack. Not because they believed they could win, but because they believed they had no choice. Within hours, the largest military fleet in galactic history began moving toward Earth. The human homeworld. The coalition assembled everything. 1 million battleships. Hundreds of thousands of carriers. Planetary weapons. Superweapons. Everything. The fleet traveled through hyperspace. And then, they arrived. Earth appeared before them. Beautiful. Peaceful. Silent. The coalition commanders smiled. Humanity made one mistake. His fleet surrounded Earth. They showed us where their home is. Then the human fleet appeared. 10,000 ships. But this time, they weren't alone. The coalition sensors began screaming. Thousands of additional signatures appeared. Then millions. The commander stared at his screen. How many ships? The computer couldn't calculate. The number kept increasing. Finally, the system displayed a message. Human military strength. Classification error. The commander whispered, "No." Then Admiral Carter's voice filled every coalition ship. "You came to Earth." The stars behind her changed. Good. A massive human fleet emerged from hyperspace. Then another. Then another. The coalition finally realized the truth. The 10,000 ships weren't humanity's entire military. They were only the fleet humanity had sent to deliver a message. Admiral Carter spoke again. "You wanted to know why we disappeared." The human fleets surrounded the coalition. "We weren't hiding." The admiral smiled. "We were waiting." The chancellor watched in horror as more and more human ships appeared. Then the admiral delivered her final words. "Now you have your answer." Every human weapon activated. The galaxy held its breath. And then the countdown reached 0. The countdown reached 0. For one terrifying second, nothing happened. The millions of coalition warships surrounding Earth waited. Their weapons were fully charged. Their targeting systems were locked. Their commanders were ready to give the order. Then the human fleet moved. 10,000 warships advanced. Behind them came millions more. The coalition commanders stared in disbelief. They had believed the 10,000 ships were humanity's entire fleet. They were wrong. The 10,000 were only the beginning. From every direction, human warships emerged from hyperspace. Battleships, carriers, dreadnoughts, Titan-class vessels, ships larger than moons. Entire fleets that had remained hidden beyond the edge of known space. The coalition had spent a century celebrating humanity's extinction. During that same century, humanity had been preparing for its return. The coalition commander finally gave the order. Fire! Millions of weapons launched. Space became a storm of energy. But the human fleet didn't fire back. Instead, every human warship activated the same technology. The weapons disappeared. Every missile, every energy beam, every planetary cannon. Everything stopped. The coalition commander stared at the screen. What did they do? A human transmission appeared. "Admiral Elena Carter, your weapons are no longer yours." The commander looked around in confusion. Then every coalition warship suddenly lost power. One by one, their engines shut down. Their weapons went offline. Their shields disappeared. Millions of ships became helpless. Humanity had defeated the greatest military force in galactic history without destroying a single ship. Admiral Carter's voice echoed across the battlefield. 100 years ago, you declared us extinct. The image of Earth appeared. But humanity survived. Images of human colonies appeared. Millions died. Images of human soldiers appeared. Millions more fought. Then came the image of a child standing beneath the stars. But we never forgot. The Galactic Chancellor finally understood. Humanity had not returned for revenge. It had returned to end the cycle. Admiral Carter transmitted one final message to every government in the galaxy. We could destroy you. The human fleet surrounded the coalition. We could erase your worlds. The human weapons remained silent. We could become the monsters you always believed we were. A long pause followed. But we won't. The Admiral looked directly into the camera. Because that's not who we are. The human fleet slowly lowered its weapons. The galaxy remained silent. Then the Admiral spoke. Today, humanity offers you one final choice. The Galactic Chancellor looked toward the human fleet. Peace. The word echoed throughout the galaxy. Or war. No one answered. The Chancellor finally stepped forward. For the first time in galactic history, he lowered his head. Peace. The word was barely a whisper. But every human ship heard it. Admiral Carter closed her eyes. For a moment, she remembered Earth. The old Earth. The one that had burned. The one that the galaxy had declared dead. Then she opened her eyes. Then let history remember this day. The human fleet began to withdraw. The coalition watched as millions of human warships disappeared into hyperspace. But 10,000 remained. The original 10,000. The fleet that had first appeared in the black expanse. The fleet that had terrified the galaxy. They stayed behind. Not as conquerors. Not as rulers. But as guardians. Humanity had finally returned. And this time, the galaxy understood something it should have learned a century earlier. You could destroy a human city. You could destroy a human colony. You could even destroy a human planet. But as long as one human survived, humanity was never extinct. Years later, historians would call it the Great Return. The day the galaxy celebrated humanity's extinction. The day 10,000 human warships emerged from the darkness. The day an empire built on fear finally learned the meaning of respect. And on Earth, beneath the blue sky of a world that had survived the impossible, children looked toward the stars. They saw the human fleet protecting their home. One child asked his father, "Are we safe now?" The father smiled. "Yes." The child looked at the stars. "Because we have the biggest fleet?" The father shook his head. "No." "Then why?" The father looked toward the endless sky. "Because now the galaxy knows." He paused. Humanity is still here. And above them, 10,000 human warships stood silently among the stars. A reminder to the entire galaxy that humanity had not returned to rule. It had returned to protect.